Take two. Hi, this is Paul, coming to you from Portland, Oregon. Welcome to the first episode of The Philosophy Ninja. Now, I'm going to consider different questions in philosophy in this series, and I'm just going to give it to you straight, right? I'm not going to quote you things and refer you to like footnotes of like very obscure philosophy texts. No. I could do some of that, but you'd be bored to death. I'm just going to summarize things and explain it to you in plain English as I understand it, right? As best as I can understand it and as best as I can explain it to you as a friend, okay? I happen to have a lot of philosophy experience. I have 7 years of postgraduate education in philosophy. I never submitted a doctoral dissertation, but I feel pretty good about my competency and my competence in philosophy. Anyway, for the first episode, I want to consider what it exactly means to be human, right? Humanity, to be human, is determined by desire, right? It's human desire that defines humanity, okay? And it so happens that there are three basic, fundamental human desires that separates us from the beasts, that separates us from the animals. Now, this is a kind of condensed summary of all of existentialist philosophy, of all of existentialism. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, that's my cat, okay? He's shaking around the table that we've got the camera on. Pardon Bishop the cat. For those of you who aren't familiar, existentialist philosophy is distinguished from essentialist philosophy, and I'll try to explain as briefly as I can. Essentialist philosophy considers the human person as kind of a machine, like describing the various parts and how they function together, right? I consider like how a person makes a moral decision, right? There's a consideration of the question, kind of a pondering period, and then a resolution, and then an action taking, right? Something like that, all these little parts. That's essentialist philosophy. Existentialism is not so concerned with that. Their primary data is lived experience. They want to consider the human person as a subject, experiencing life, right? Traveling a journey. They're interested in questions like how the cosmos presents itself to the subject, what it is like for a subject to be placed in time and place in history, right? What are the stages by which the subject learns and grows and matures? What are the great challenges for this subject? What are the most fundamental questions that can really break the subject down, right? Angst. These kinds of questions are the essential questions in existentialism. And we're talking about philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and I would consider Martin Heidegger a part of that group. You can look up others, and there are others that are worth reading. I'm going to try to boil all of that existentialist philosophy into this very short presentation, okay? So I'm going to jog your memory of your sophomore year in college, stuff and material that you should have studied and learned, but that you didn't because you were too busy drinking beer and hooking up. I'm probably guilty a little of that too, so we're friends, right? Okay, I think it all boils down to three fundamental human desires. And you see them right on the board here. Number 1, transcendence. Number 2, communion. 3, agency. And each of those deserves some consideration and explanation. Okay, transcendence. The word literally means beyond, right? To go beyond. So the human person has a desire to reach beyond the status quo of his or her present life condition, right? So let's say somebody's financially, economically ambitious, right? They want to move up in the world, and they presently live in a very rundown urban project, public housing. it's not that that person wants to make a little more money so that they can live in the townhouses below. No. This person is dreaming of, a drive up into a cul-de-sac with a beautiful house and acreage, right? That kind of thing, yeah? Bishop. And that's Bishop the Cat disturbing me again. To go way beyond the status quo, right? That's a desire for transcendence. And if you take that to the logical conclusion, right? It's a desire to go beyond this universe. We don't want beautiful things, we want beauty itself, right? And this ultimately becomes it does ultimately become a religious question. And religious people answer it in the religious way. And those that are not religious must face a very difficult self-examination. Number 2, a desire for communion. Okay? Communion means not just people just getting together. Animals do that, right? Social animals. Communion means 2 parties, right? 2 persons, 2 subjects, joining together with some bonding together through a mediating object, like a chess club. Chess clubs members become friends in their common love for chess, and playing chess bonds them even closer, right? That's the idea. There is a kind of love shared, a very special love shared between man and women, and to a kind of parallel experience, the homosexual and other alternative sexuality, sexual oriented people. It's one person loving another person and something shared between the two, right? And what is that? Well, it's the love between them? No, that makes no sense. It's actually love itself. And so you start thinking that way, and wow, you're touching upon the divine there, right? My goodness. Okay, 3, agency. And the word just means doing, or an entity that does, right? Like a travel agency does travel booking, right? For example. Agency just means doing, right? Doing yourself. So we want agency. We want choices and to be able to execute upon our choices, right? That's agency. We want to do for ourselves. We want to see our vision come to life and be a part of working towards that end, right? Desire for agency. Okay. And power is kind of wrapped up in that, isn't it? Right? Agency and power. And then you take that to the logical conclusion. And where does all power reside? Right? Or the fundamental power reside? And that becomes a kind of religious question, right? Okay, very good. These are the basics. If you know these three things about a person, you know that person. And that person becomes completely predictable to you. Right? You know their highest values in each of these 3 categories, right? How they're seeking transcendence, how they're seeking communion, how they're seeking agency. They're at a fork in the road, and you understand these things, and you know precisely which path they're going to take. Trust me. Now, a manager has a unknown candidate who's applying for a desirable job in that person's company, let's say. Okay? I think one very basic question answers these 3 questions quite nicely, quite neatly, quite efficiently. And the question is, drum roll please. Okay, you've asked the candidate as the manager. Timothy, tell me, what are your financial dreams? Now tell me about your financial dreams. I'm not talking about your financial goals or objectives. I'm not like, you're going to save up $60,000 in 3 years to make a down payment on a new home or something like that. No, I'm talking about financial dreams, visions. Tell me about them. That's the question, okay? Now the person says, they're very happy to volunteer this information. Now I'm not a personnel expert, but I don't think this is illegal. I think this is an inbounds question, okay? And the person will say something like, you know, me and my husband are saving up to start a small business of our own. Something like that, right? If they would say something like that, transcendence means they want to get out of their present condition as employee. They would like to be self-employed. That's something radically different than what they are now, right? Transcendence, that's where she's seeking it, right? Communion. She and her husband share this business in common. Pretty basic, right? Agency. Oh my goodness, her decisions will make a difference in her business's success or failure. Perfect, right? Now, let us say a guy answers, I want a 10-car garage and I'm going to fill it with European Roadsters, MGs, and Fiats, and classic Mercedes-Benz convertibles, these kinds of things, right? Well, how's he seeking transcendence? Excess, right? Communion. He wants his stuff admired and draw people that way, right? Wow, that's the kind of person he is, right? Agency. He's hustling, he's working hard and he's playing his angles right? Agency. Okay, that's the kind of person you got there. Okay, you get me? So, personnel managers, HR consultants, like basic managers, please, take advantage. I'm giving you free information that you might be able to get at an exclusive management consulting conference in the Swiss Alps that they have every 5 years or something, They talk about this stuff and they hire people like Yale philosophy PhDs to explain this stuff to them, okay? Very good. I hope you found that useful, or at the very least, something worth pondering. Very good. Thank you for joining me. This is Paul, your philosophy ninja, bidding you adieu.